Welcome to No Password Required, a podcast dedicated to showcasing the top personalities in the world of cybersecurity.
All right, hello and welcome to the No Password Required podcast. Today we've got something special. We're coming to you from the Cyberbase Summit here in Tampa, Florida, right in the middle of ThreatLocker's event space. I'm your host, Jack Clabby. I'm a cybersecurity attorney at Carlton Fields, PA, and with me as always,
I'm Kayley Melton, the Executive Director of Operations for the Cognitive Security Institute, and of course, the Bob Ross of InfoSec.
So Kayley, it's great to see you in person. We don't get to do this a lot.
I know.
But when we do get to do it, usually it's pretty special.
Yeah, I agree.
So we've also got a very special guest with us today. Joining us here in the ThreatLocker podcast studio is Danny Jenkins. Danny is the CEO and the co-founder of ThreatLocker. Danny, welcome to No Password Required.
Thank you for inviting me today.
So Danny, just if you can, tell us about how ThreatLocker came to be.
So essentially, at the time, I'd set up this consulting and we wanted to do a lot of ethical hacking. I ended up doing mostly ransomware recoveries because people would just call and say, hey, my customer's been hit by ransomware. We really need help. Ransomware was really just starting. And there was one particular one I remember, which was an Australian MSP called me. And it was an insurance broker, had been hit by ransomware. They asked me to come in and help with the recovery. Backup's gone, database is gone, exchange gone, everything gone. And they'd paid $22,000 and they hadn't got their data back. So I'm trying to figure out how we can get their data back. I'm doing low-level disk recovery. We're restoring from OST files. It's pretty miserable. And about a week into the recovery, the owner of the insurance broker called me. And he was a 60-something-year-old man. And he starts asking me, well, when's this going to be up and running? And I was like, I don't know. We're going to be able to recover this at this point. And he started to break down on the phone, which was, as a British guy, that's really awkward. Like, we don't. That's really, really awkward. Last time I cried, I had to leave Britain. I haven't been back since. So anyway, I said, look, we're working on everything. We're going to come back to you. Eventually, we get enough of his data back. He's not going out of business. But, this is the first time I actually saw a business. I'd done lots of cyber attacks, malware, not ransomware. But this is the first time I'd seen someone completely get wiped out by malware where their whole life business could be gone. And he asked me afterwards, well, what should I have done? The company told me I need antivirus and EDR. I did everything they said, but I still got hit by a cyber attack. So I said, well, it's simple. You should just block things that you don't need. And the IT person told him I had gone nuts and that was not possible and viable. And I was like, of course it's possible. I've done it before. Okay, they were isolated environments. So I tried to prove him wrong. And it became a lot harder to prove him wrong than I thought. So that's really why we set up ThreatLocker. We said we've got to make it so it's viable for small businesses, for large businesses to block by default. It wasn't called Zero Trust back then. Now it's called Zero Trust. And that was the initial concept of ThreatLocker. Make it so it's easy for small businesses and large businesses to do this.
Had you been on the post-breach or post-incident side for a while, and then you kind of made the flip to preventative? What was that journey like for you?
I'd worked corporate IT, I'd worked security, so I'd always done preventative. I'd used technologies like application whitelisting before, but they were in very selective areas that didn't have much change. Also, the internet had changed since I'd used it a lot, and that we'd gone from applications never updating to updating constantly, and Chrome and Zoom and all of these things. So I'd done a lot of corporate IT security. I'd founded 2 email security businesses.
Wow, okay.
And and then I wanted to do the whole ethical hacking thing. And I did that. It was really easy, really fun. But the reality is, like, we've got to stop these attacks happening. And there just wasn't the technology there. And today we've got 70,000 companies using our product. And they range from small businesses right up to massive companies like JetBlue and parts of the US Navy. And
everybody who encounters ThreatLocker now sees it as this big success, right? But I imagine when you first started it, you didn't know it was going to end up here, right? What was it like when it first started? Did you know you were going to get here?
I get asked that a lot. So here's the thing. I planned to get here. Did I actually know I was going to get here is a different story. It seems, so if I go back to 2018, we're in a situation where we hadn't got our first customer yet. We were cold calling. We had one guy doing 4 hours of cold calls from my house. I was writing code. I was trying to keep track of Windows updates and Office updates and Chrome updates. And we were $150,000 in credit card debt. Couldn't afford to buy groceries. And then suddenly we got our first $5,000 order. And then once we got that, we managed to get some angel investment and we got a little bit of relief. But
So you're developing this and the guy's making cold calls in the same space.
oh yeah, and he's calling for 4 hours. I'm writing code. And a lot of time I'm taking over his calls because I'm paying someone $10 an hour, whatever minimum wage was then, to dial in my house. And he really doesn't know the product that well, but most of the time he's getting told to go away. So we get someone and say, well, what do you do? And I'm most of the time grabbing the phone and going, let me show you talk about it. And I'm writing code, and then I'm writing code all night. And there's 3 of us who founded the company. We're trying to keep on track of all these updates because that's the biggest challenge when you take a zero trust is Windows updates, Office updates, Chrome updates, Zoom updates. And even then, I remember how do we get to that first $1 million was just, it seemed impossible. Like who would get to and now it's like, if we didn't close that in a week, it'd be a really bad week.
So zero trust, you're the evangelist for zero trust. What was it like? Now we kind of get it today, but what was it like in the early days, like talking to internal folks at clients and prospects about that idea?
99% of our customers had never considered doing what ThreatLocker does when we approached them. So we had to build a sales strategy that wasn't about because if you're looking for an EDR, people are saying EDR alternatives. What are the best EDRs? They're Googling that. So you can sponsor ads for EDR, but we do have an EDR, but that's not the core of our product. And we won't sell our EDR only as an add-on. So when we went after the zero trust, we realized we had to educate people. And we still do that today. So last year we did 850 trade shows. We started in 2020. Through 2020, we were doing trade shows. We went to 8 trade shows after COVID broke out, and we only got COVID at 1, so it wasn't too bad. But so we realized we had to educate, and that means getting in front of people. This year we're doing 1,100 trade shows. And I did 2 yesterday and one, I'm here today. But that's our philosophy is if we can educate people, this is how cyber attacks happen. And we can take this, the problem is the world is they think cybersecurity is this big mystery. And you often hear things like when the MGM gets breached or Colonial Pipelines, it was a sophisticated attack. It wasn't a sophisticated attack.
Right.
Someone downloaded a program and ran it and it let someone in the system. You didn't have the controls you should have put in place, but it sounds better when you say it was sophisticated.
Yes.
And if we can educate the world that, look, this isn't brain surgery. You just do these steps and you won't get breached.
It's discipline, if anything else. Or having I liked what you said earlier. You were on a panel earlier today, and you were talking about this concept of we don't have to trust people to do the right thing. We can assume they're going to do the wrong thing. But if we have systems set up, assuming people are going to do the wrong thing, then okay, great. It'd be awesome if they did the right thing. But the systems can be set up for them to also screw up or to do things maliciously and still get protected.
Yeah. We always say there's 3 ways to stop any cyber attack. There's detection, there's the human, and there's the controls. If someone sends you a malicious email, if you don't open the email, attack foiled. If the antivirus detects it, problem solved.
Yeah.
You have no control as an IT professional over the first 2. You don't have a control if the user's going to click on the link. You don't have a control if the antivirus is going to find it. But if you block untrusted software by default, you have control over that. And that is, everyone says this is extreme security. This is the most basic concept of security going. Everything else should be the optional. The control is the most important thing you can do. And if you gave me the choice of taking away one of those 3 things, I'm always, if I had to take away 2, I'm always leaving the controls back in place. I'd rather have no antivirus and no user training and have good controls in place.
Yeah.
Back in 2017, I think you guys demonstrated ThreatLocker against WannaCry at like a local school.
Yeah.
What was that like?
So, and this is another interesting thing. People often think about zero trust as being hard. So we did a deal, like we were helping the school out with their IT. We got some breaks on our kids going to private school. And what happened was when we took this deal, we thought, oh, this is going to be easy. We save a load of money, problem solved. Anyway, we were spending 20 hours a week just managing this private school's computers. There was malware, there was viruses. WannaCry then came out, and that's when we decided, because we'd had built a concept of ThreatLocker, but I was really struggling with the idea that no one wanted to buy this default deny. So we ran WannaCry through it, thinking still not really committed to ThreatLocker, and that's the moment we decided, let's just go into debt, lose our house, whatever it takes to make this work. We implemented our kids' school with ThreatLocker was the first user of ThreatLocker. And their IT management went down from 20 hours a week to like 2 hours a month.
Oh, wow.
So because suddenly we stopped getting all of the problems. And,
Right.
And people often think about it. So now you have to approve new software. It's like, well, how often does someone run new software?
Yeah.
It's not very often. And actually, more often than not, so 95% of the software they try and run gets rejected because it was a bad idea to install it in the first place. Why are you installing this coupon clipper made in China?
Right.
Saving me money. And say, no, you don't want to install this. You can see your passwords for every website you go to.
Right. Yeah, there's a trade-off happening that you're not aware of.
So you probably see a lot in your career, both before and during ThreatLocker. What's a hacker or cybersecurity incident that you encountered that still stays with you today?
I think that one I discussed in Australia, and that was because it suddenly became personal. And before that moment, every cybersecurity incident was really an IT problem. It's like, oh, the network's down. IT has to fix it. It was never a business problem. The CEO wasn't involved. IT would work late, would scan the machines, would re-image the machines if it got really bad. But that was the first time I really saw it become a major business issue. And you'd seen small things before that, little scams, someone lose it, but not to the point where you see a business fail. So I think that's probably the most impactful cyber case I've ever seen. And now since then, I've seen bigger, more traumatic exchange vulnerabilities, ransomware, and entire networks. But I think that one just stuck with me more because it was personal, and the guy got emotional too. So
Yeah, makes sense. So at Zero Trust World, you showcased a live hacking demonstration to help IT professionals think a little more like hackers. Can you tell us a little more about that, and why do you believe that cybersecurity leaders should embrace a hacker mindset?
it's more about actually training people to realize whatever you think you know, there's 100 things you don't know. And whether it's, oh, I didn't know Rubber Ducky could do that. I didn't know you could exfil data with PowerShell. I didn't know you could take screenshots. I didn't know there was a keylogger built into Windows. So if you can show people things that they didn't understand, the hope is, now it doesn't always plan out, that they go, I need to change my thinking because I want to be able to actually make sure my system's hardened in a much wider stance. Sometimes they go, I'm going to solve that problem, which is not the way to look at it. You want to look, but the goal is if you can get people to understand how hackers are bypassing everything, that they actually start changing their approach to the only way we're going to stop this is through a zero trust approach. And we should do that. We should stop trusting our applications. We should stop trusting our systems. We need to just make sure things are locked down so the user can continue to function, but we've got all of these controls in place to slow a hacker down.
So let's imagine that a SOC team starts to think like hackers after hearing from you and Rob at Zero Trust World. What shifts might we notice in a SOC team's approach once they actually start thinking like a hacker in their approach to tackling security threats?
So I don't know if it's about a SOC team thinking like a hacker, but more so a security team who's thinking that, like, because the SOC is job is to respond to incidents. Whereas I think if you take a CISO or the security team, the defensive security team, they're the people that are going to start seeing the changes in approach. And for the SOC team, they're going to have a lot less work because one of the things what happens when you implement a zero trust approach, your SOC alerts just go boom down because there's nothing happening anymore because it gets blocked after the bat. And if you think about you download a piece of software today, and let's just say this, most SOC alerts are false positives, but let's say the software is made in China, it's communicating with shopware, it's not malware, but it's just pointing out to the internet, getting an update. That's going to create an alert for your SOC team. And then someone's going to have to analyze that, decide this is really good or bad. The software had no business being in the company to begin with. When it gets blocked out the box, no harm, no foul. Like nothing happened. Like, oh, it was downloaded, it was blocked. It never communicated to China. It never created an alert. So, and that's really one of the best things about approaching it from a defensive. Cyber defensive people look at that. When SOC people, they think, oh, I'm going to be out of a job. Or they move to a defensive angle because that was
going to be my next question is what would you say to SOC analysts who might feel like, oh, my job is going to be irrelevant?
We have an MDR in ThreatLocker, and we call them the configuration police. Because pretty much
that's a better term then.
Yeah, all they essentially do is call customers when they've messed up their configuration. Because where zero trust fails is where someone fails on the configuration. So they accidentally allow something that they shouldn't do. So we call the SOC the configuration police, or the MDR the configuration police, because mostly they're calling their customers, go, why do you have RDP open on the internet? And they're going, I don't. It's like, here's the policy, fix it. And they can go in, they get the policy, they hit resolve. And that's kind of how I would approach the SOC in the future. But I also think we're going to see people who went to college for cybersecurity went to college to work in a SOC. And that is a big fundamental problem. They should be going to college to understand how we harden systems. And part of the challenge is this, because the world wanted to separate security from IT. because IT people have friends, security people don't. Right? And they wanted to remove this conflict. Your job is to make the system work. Our job is to keep it secure. The problem is because they couldn't control the systems, they became monitors of the system, which is why the SOC came. Security has to be reported separately from IT to avoid conflict, but ultimately it heavily involves IT to deliver successful security.
And the minute a big incident happens, all those walls go down anyway, and everyone's just on the same Teams thread talking about it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, all the walls go down in the business once it's down.
Yeah, I mean,
We've asked you a little bit about Zero Trust World. Where did that idea come from? What is it? Can you just tell our listeners a little bit more about it?
So it comes back down to education. I think the most important thing we can be doing is educating. People often talk about educating the user, but it's not educating the user because I can't fix 8 billion people. We have a much better chance of fixing the IT teams, the security teams, telling them what they should be doing. So we started it off as we want to educate you. And it was 2021. Vaccinations had just started coming out. We're like, we want to get people back out. We want people to come in, educate, learn how to use rubber duckies, how to defend. And one of the nice things we do in Zero Trust World is we'll actually go through your Office 365 with you and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. This
Configuration point.
Yeah.
It's just fair.
And we'll go through your ThreatLocker and you'll get certified in ThreatLocker because we wanted to train those people. We wanted a place where people could train, but also people could talk to their peers because you learn, I'd say half of what you learn or probably a third of what you learn from at Zero Trust World is from what we're telling you. But so much of it is from the person who next to you. It's like, oh no, we had someone use remote desktop client to exfil data. Oh, maybe I should ring fence that. And if you can get those stories, the biggest challenge for the IT world is you get the IT guy or the security guy, or security guys haven't been around that long. The IT guy sitting in a company for 20 years. And 20 years ago, it was not normal practice to patch servers the moment an update was released. And he doesn't know. And I've seen cyber attacks where you had a good IT guy that understood networking, understood Active Directory, understood his servers, and genuinely didn't know you should patch his servers because he never left the office. He was locked in the basement.
He needs to meet some other folks who do the same thing in a different company and find out what's causing them harm.
And then by nature, technology people are introverts. So it's not like they're out hanging out in the pub with their fellow nerds.
right. I recently saw that you were referred to as a former ethical hacker, and I think that offends me a tiny little bit because it seems like that's not a thing that has a start and maybe a start, but not necessarily an end. Do you feel like you ever really stopped being an ethical hacker?
So I never really consider myself an ethical hacker. I just consider myself to be a nerd.
Right.
And I think part of that is building systems, building data centers, writing software, writing scripts, bypassing things, figuring out how things work. Like I remember finding a bypass around Duo using remote registry. And it was not because I was trying to break Duo, it's because I was trying to ring fence it so it would work properly. I remember calling Duo, they said, that's a limitation of product, not a vulnerability. And I was like, well, let's have a disagreement on this one. It's a public article on it. So maybe a public article, but I think I don't really consider myself as an ethical hacker as such as I'm just a nerd. And that means breaking things and finding how things work. I love technology. I get up at 4 a.m. because I get this idea and I start writing code and sending Teams messages going, what if we do this and this and this? How can... And we just released this new feature in our product. It's called Defense Against Configuration DAC, otherwise known internally as dumbass configurations. But and basically it does 170 checks on your endpoint every day at the moment. It's probably going to be 300 soon. Every day, and it gives you a report, not just about locker configurations, but you don't have a lot policy. Macros are enabled. Windows has got this wrong. And it gives you this email every day going, this is what's wrong. This is what's critical. And you can click on it and you can say, these are the compliance violations. This is what you need to do to fix it, either in ThreatLocker or outside of ThreatLocker. This is why it's important. Real life examples of ransomware. Really, really cool feature. And we just include it as a feature in ThreatLocker free of charge. So if any of our products has it, it kind of helps us upsell other modules sometimes too. So it's not all bad. But I wake up, I would say probably 3 times a week, I end up sending someone messages, go, I got another idea for a DAC check.
Load it in there. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, we should check, like one I thought of the other day was RMMs. You see things like ConnectWise, Kaseya, and Ninja. They're super powerful tools. And quite often they start at the same priority as your security software. So they could potentially start before your security software. Big concern. So I say, why don't we put a check in to check that you have set up your RMMs to be delayed start? And this is why you should do it. And this is the advantages. And these are the risks if you don't. And they're like, okay, that's done in the next build.
How do you separate like running a large company from wanting to do individual items that go in products yourself? Like, how do you balance that?
Apparently I don't very well. So normally if I'm writing code, it's normally very complicated. It requires deep knowledge of the product, and it's just going to take. Sometimes it's easier for me to write this than it is to tell someone.
Yeah, totally
yeah,
understand.
Yeah. So and a lot of time I'll actually just write 4 lines of code and send it to the dev team on Teams saying, change this line here, and they'll fix that. So, but I think, mostly I spend 90% of my day on the floor in the company, the sales floor, the marketing floor, the dev floor, the special projects floor. I will spend going out, and I'll move around business BAs or product floor. So
Are you talking about real floors in Orlando and
Yeah,
physical space? Oh, that's really
Look,
cool.
oh yeah, we're pretty much all in office business.
That's great.
And I will spend all my time walking around the office. So I get 6,000 steps just in the office Monday, 9 to 5. And I will. And here's the thing: I want to direct the way we're going. I want to make sure our product is going in a way that I am proud of. Because if I'm not standing on stage and I'm not 100% proud of what we built, and like down to there's a gap, there's padding wrong on that pixel, that's wrong, and we should fix it because it looks bad. So I do that, but reality is most of the work doesn't get done by me, but I can direct, and I think what I'm trying to do is really reflect passion to the rest of the team. So if they can see my passion, hopefully some of it rubs off and they get the same passion. I literally go from place to place. I spend most of my time at any point in the weakest department, whether that's marketing or whether it's sales at that point, or whether it's support, or we'll go through stages, and we'll make a lot of changes if we're losing the kind of company, what's the word I'm looking, culture, in that I'll spend a lot more time. And some people hate that, by the way, but I also don't sleep, so that helps.
Do you eat breakfast? Do you eat meals regularly? Or?
I eat. I'm very, very fast at eating. I can consume my dinner in like 90 seconds.
When you're looking for folks who are going to work alongside you, are you looking for somebody who has that kind of fire also? How do you approach hiring?
And we're hiring 50 plus people a month at the moment, so it's incredibly hard. So here's what I say: I want people with fire. I want people who care. I want people who are smart. I want people who are going to work hard. We always say there's 3 parts to every good team member. They really care about the product and what they do. And you can tell if someone doesn't care, if they don't believe your product is worth it. If they don't believe in their job, if they're in sales or marketing or tech, it shows. So they work hard. And look, I've had people travel with me 32 hours straight, no sleep, and like it's like from Saudi Arabia to Las Vegas.
You guys know somebody well. Okay.
Yeah, and they're smart. Or so we changed the word smart to they have the skills required for the job, but essentially they're smart. And you can be a salesperson, you could be selling really, really well, or you could be a dev and be really good at coding. You could be a support person and really good at helping people, but you got smart. So I would say we take 2. We won't take 1. Like, so you can really care and you can work really hard and not be that smart. We're going to find somewhere for you that fits in the company. You can care and be smart but not work hard. And again, you're not going to be the leaders in the company. You're going to be a cog that goes, we're going to find a spot for you. I won't take 1. Like, as soon as it gets down to 1, it's like you're not adding value to the company. And sometimes people don't like that, but I do not want you representing us. And I say to every single employee, you're not supporting a product. You're supporting an airport, an airline, a hospital, a defense contractor.
It's not us, it's them.
Yeah. So do not think when someone comes in, oh, I'm supporting an endpoint security product. Think, this is a hospital that relies on our systems to operate.
Yeah.
What that one, man?
Yeah, sure. So you've famously advised people to trust no one, clearly. Zero trust. Is that advice strictly professional, personal, or both?
No, so I think what it really means is least privilege. So it means give access where access is required and no more access. So it's not so much about trust. And people often think about trust as a human emotion. And also, people say they trust someone. I trust my son's not going to do anything to harm his family. I don't trust him not to go fast in his car, right? And people often think about trust as a black and white scenario. And so we have controls in his car. Since he got a speeding ticket, we get alerted if he goes over the speed limit. And so it's not about, do I trust it? Like, I'm lucky enough to found the company with my wife, who's the COO. And that is incredibly nice to know I've got a true partner in the business, and whatever I'm not looking, she's paying attention, and whatever. And yesterday I was in Atlanta, today I'm here, and she's I have no idea, but she's hiring people on the support floor and making sure that nothing's falling apart. So I don't think it's a case of do I trust someone or not trust someone. And I think the word zero trust is probably a bad marketing term, but it's the one that's we didn't coin it. It was created by the industry. I think what it means is least privilege. Give access where access is required and nowhere else. Just don't open your door to everything and every device and and it's not just people, it's also programs and applications and everything else. Some people I would trust not to open bad software. Because I think they're skilled, they're capable, but there's no reason not to block it, because there's other people in the company that I don't have an opinion as to whether to trust them or not, because I don't know if they're that good.
Or I might trust that person today, but not when they've been up for 36 hours,
Exactly.
haven't eaten, and they get right back to their desk to
Yeah,
try to dive
exactly.
into stuff. They're compromised,
Right.
frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not about. Look, I like I said, I built the company with my wife, and I was very lucky to do that, because I see a lot of founders who are struggling at home, and they're on the road, and their wife's getting mad, and thankfully I have someone I can completely trust and not have to worry about that.
well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return to No Password Required, we'll go through the Lifestyle Polygraph.
You're listening to the No Password Required podcast. We cover cybersecurity and a lot of other stuff.
Welcome back. As many of you know, the Lifestyle Polygraph is a test used by the federal government to determine if a person is worthy of learning some of our nation's most important secrets. Here, though, we use this technique for only slightly lower stakes, to determine whether our guests can join our fantasy cybersecurity squad. Danny, are you ready for the Lifestyle Polygraph?
Yep. Go ahead.
Awesome. All right, question 1. You founded ThreatLocker with your wife, Sammy, who is the COO, an incredibly awesome story. What percentage of your non-work conversations revolve around cybersecurity?
Okay, 0, and I would say 0 non-work conversations. So there's not many non-work conversations, but I don't think anything revolves around cybersecurity outside of ThreatLocker.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
What's your go-to topic when you just can't talk about cybersecurity, zero trust, any of that anymore?
It's normally what crazy things the kids have done.
Fair enough.
I like that. Like, there's nothing better to take a well-run household than injecting children into it. It's just like a little bit of chaos. I think that worked very well. My wife is she's a sort of people officering, right? So she works for a company that has a million little sub companies, and she's always doing human resources. So whenever I get home from work, I bring her my HR issues, and she helps me solve them,
That's
which is pretty
amazing.
extraordinary. You kind of do no names
Cool.
basis.
Yeah.
It helps troubleshoot. So it is nice to be able to talk about work. I wish she could be read into the confidentiality stuff, so I could give her.
But Sammy likes to tell me the things I don't want to know, like something really bad that's going to stress me out just before I fall asleep.
That's incredible.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. Exactly.
I am like, why do you tell me that now?
That's a 6 p.m. conversation, not 11 p.m.
That's
conversation.
amazing.
That's good. At least, hey, you've got a routine where it gets brought up.
She said it's off my chest now. I'm good.
Yeah.
I should pass it on.
Yeah.
Is that why you don't sleep?
I just want to start keyboard warrior. Who did this?
Sometimes we say, why are you adding branches to my worry tree?
Oh, I
Which is a good concept. I've got my worry tree is full.
My
Why are you adding branches to it? But it's good to know about it, because then the worst thing then is if you don't find out about it, then you find
Yeah.
out later, hey, wait, you knew about that.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me this? Yeah, exactly.
All right, question 2. Let's imagine ThreatLocker lands a huge new account and you and your wife get to take a celebratory trip. Where are you going, and who ends up sneaking in more work while you're there?
So if it lands a huge deal, we're taking a celebratory trip. We're going to the Maldives all the time.
What is it about it? Yeah.
It's no roads. I mean, the first time I went, there was no hot water, no air conditioning, no cell phones. Now I can work. You have internet there. It's not great. I have a little Starlink dish I bring with me, put it on the deck. But we're going to the Maldives. It's beautiful. There's no roads. There's no stress. It's just, it's a long way away, but it's beautiful. And what was the second part of that question?
Who is going to end up sneaking in more work while you're there?
Oh, when we're there,
Yeah,
probably me.
that was going to be my guess.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Some people take on weekend DIY projects, but you and your family went all in with a 1930s house renovation, including digging and plumbing your own swimming pool. What were a couple of standout highlights from that adventure?
So So a little bit of a backstory on this. So we renovated the entire house, stripped it down to our studs, and we did most of it ourselves. Electrics, plumbing, everything. I wasn't going to do the pool, but my daughter had just had some pretty substantial surgery on her legs, and she needed a pool. And we asked the pool company, they said 9 months plus, we're going to add 3 days for every day it rains. And I was like, well, that's like 5 years then. And so I was like, we're not waiting 9 months. And from the moment we decided we were going to do it, we ordered the pool. We ordered all the pipes and everything. I applied for the permits, and within 4 weeks, there was water in that pool.
Wow.
So there was now the deck around it was just mud, but
that's awesome.
There was water in the pool. I've got a picture of my daughter in there with a fixation device on her leg, holding a glass bottle of Coke. Very happy. So I think the most miserable part, the most standout part probably was we dug the hole, and then a hurricane came through and all the walls collapsed in, the water table came up. So we dug the hole back out again, pumping water out to get the water table down before we put the pool in. And I'm down the side plumbing, and the water's coming up. And we'll keep pumping out this water as I'm trying to get sand everywhere, glue around the pipes.
My goodness.
It was an interesting adventure, and I learned a lot.
Where do you start? Is it a YouTube?
YouTube is probably a pretty good, big resource.
How is it held up over the?
Oh no! I mean, we just sold the house last month, and it's still in good condition. It's beautiful.
Well done.
Yeah, we redecked the around because we put cheap pavers down first, and then I didn't like them, so we redid them with travertine, and then we sold the house after that.
Wow, that's so impressive.
Anything planned for the new place?
No, the pool's lovely as it is. So we've done a couple of small things, but the house is. The new house is much nicer, ready to move into. No renovation.
Good. Okay, question 4. When you were younger, you used some pretty innovative hacking skills to push back against bullies. Can you tell us about that experience?
So here's the thing, and again, I wouldn't necessarily call it hacking skills or IT skills is where it becomes relevant. I was 5'2", and I grew up in a very rough area in the UK, and I grew to 6 foot within 2 years of leaving school, which was interesting. And I would get, this is how bad the school was. A student actually burned the school down.
No.
So they rebuilt it, and then eventually they closed it down, and I don't know. And so it's a pretty rough school. And computer class was Windows 3.1 back then, DOS on Windows 3.1. And I figured out that you can write batch files in the autoexec.bat file to start up. So what I did is I set it to delete all work from floppy disks, because there wasn't anyone in the class I didn't dislike. And I would just not put my disk in until after the computer started. And it would just delete their work from there.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
And no one ever knew I did it. They just knew that their work went missing, and they got...
Oh my gosh.
I was very happy about it when it happened.
Beautiful.
That's a cool hack.
Yeah.
As good as it can.
All right, last question. You have a tradition of Friday night movies with a heavy preference for action. What's your favorite franchise, and how often do you find yourself rewatching it?
Franchise, I would say probably Die Hard.
Yes.
So it's I mean, I would say probably every few years.
Yeah.
Normally around Christmas time.
I'm gonna say, do you watch it?
Yeah,
Christmas.
It's a Christmas movie.
Yes, it's a Christmas movie.
The director of Cyber Florida, Ernie Ferraresso, believes strongly that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
So you see the memes that say there's 2 types of people that on this. There's people who believe it's a Christmas movie and people who are wrong.
Yes, exactly.
And so that's probably the one I would say I've watched more. Those simple movies that you don't have to think. We watched Avengers. Obviously, the kids grew up with Avengers, was cool. That gets a little bit harder. My brain, there's a lot to process as you get older. So what's going on? How's he alive again?
Right, it's a classic, straightforward, tough cop, stuck in a bad situation, action movie. Perfect.
It's hard to beat.
Die Hard's up there.
So what do you think, Jack? Does Danny have what it takes to join our cybersecurity squad?
Let Danny welcome to our fantasy cybersecurity squad. It can be good for picking movies that we can watch, and also for any time when we don't have a pool and we need one.
At a minimum.
I'll tell you a cybersecurity movie that I shouldn't have played.
Okay.
Was obviously all cybersecurity movies completely fabricated, but when we did a hiring event one year after Zero Trust World, apparently this was inappropriate, according to HR. I played the clip from Swordfish, where he's got the gun to his head, and I said, this is what you think cybersecurity is like. You're wrong. It's boring. It's mechanical.
It's not like that
It's
at
not
all.
like this. If this is what you think, go and work somewhere else. Apparently, that's not a good. HR do not like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, Daddy, thank you so much for joining us. If our listeners want to connect with you, learn more about what ThreatLocker does, how can they do that?
Yeah, so if to learn more about ThreatLocker, the best way is just do a demo, do a free trial. One of the nice things about ThreatLocker, we'll tell you everything wrong with your environment without charging you anything. So you can do a free trial, deploy it. You don't even have to lock anything down. We'll show you all of your configuration issues. We'll show you what software you've got, what country it was developed in, what coupon clippers are made in China that you can see your passwords. You can just go to ThreatLocker, schedule a demo, and they can do a trial for you. It's very easy. And if you want to connect to me, follow ThreatLocker on LinkedIn, YouTube, but follow us. We publish a lot of good content. We have at least 2 weekly bi-weekly webinars, I guess, every other week. And we do some pretty cool stuff, including dropping Wi-Fi pineapples onto a roof from a helicopter.
Oh, that is really cool.
Okay, it is cool. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, I was told no drones after the drone crash here before. So I used the helicopter instead.
Well, that brings us to the end of our show. We're here from Cyber Bay at the ThreatLocker podcast studio. Thank you so much for listening. For the entire No Password Required team, I'm Jack Clabby, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for listening to the No Password Required podcast. Join us next time for more with your favorite cybersecurity personalities. In the meantime, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this episode. You can find us on social media at No Password Pod. The show is produced by Cyber Florida, and a special thanks goes out to our friends at Carlton Fields and Reality Shift. For more information, visit our website at cyberflorida.org/pod.